Welcome back to the American Shipper Global Trade Tech Summit. I'm Greg Fuller. Normally when I'm up here talking to Zach Strickland, we're actually debating what's happening in the market. But not today. We're going to talk about our brand new market intelligence product for the global freight market. And specifically, you're going to show us how all these functions and all these data sets can be used to make decisions that impact the US freight market.
That's right. So we've just developed a new UI app inside of Sonar, imports by top 100 consignees. And it has a bunch of data in here, basically designed to show you exactly what the freight patterns are for the top 100 consignees before they enter the United States are.
So if I want to know who is shipping volumes into the United States, importing products from all over the world, I can find that out. And this is built for the top 100, right?
Top 100 consignees.
So let's see how this works.
Yeah, so you have this box up here, and this is where you're going to pick which consignee or which shipper, really. I mean, if you're in the domestic freight market, you think about these companies as shippers. And Amazon, for instance, is one that everybody is pretty familiar with. That would be a good one to start with there. And it's going to break it down, basically, and it's going to tell you the TEUs over the past 30 days. It's also going to give you a shipment count over the past 30 days, as well as giving you a nice map of where all this freight is originating and then where it's bound for.
So real quick, Zach, so if I understand TEUs, I know what a TEU is, just in terms of boxes that are moving in, but what is the difference between shipments and TEUs?
So shipments are basically bill of ladings. They're, you can put in an order for 50 TEUs on one shipment, but a TEU is just a TEU, a 20-foot equivalent.
So this could be less than container loads that are coming through the shipment count, just measures the total amount of bills related to that particular shipper.
Correct.
Got it. And the top 100 are defined as the most amount of volume and shipment count or TEU count across in this particular study?
They are, in this particular study, they are the shipment counts.
Got it. Okay, so we're looking at high volume shippers, if you want to know that. And why would someone that's focused on the domestic surface freight market care about the import activity?
Well, the import activity, of course, as you know, we don't produce as much freight as we used to in the United States. So the imports are basically what has taken over a lot of that production space. And a lot of that freight originates overseas before it starts moving on a domestic truck.
Got it. So if you're trying to get ahead of what's going to impact the trucking market, knowing what has actually been moving through the economy and who's moving, it's pretty important. Tell me a little bit more about what I actually see here on screen. So up here, we've got export location by country. What does that mean exactly?
So basically on the bill of lading, it's going to state it came from China. And it could originate in a port of China or somewhere around there, or it could originate inland. But regardless, that is where that freight is going to originate before it gets on the water, before it comes to the United States.
Got it. Okay, so we're seeing specifically, we've got Amazon as the consignee. We see all the activity, and then we actually see the country of origin. So if we were to click that, what else can we find out about this?
So once you click on the country of origin, it's basically going to break down the consignee's experience with that country. So for instance, this is Amazon, and you're going to see each daily value of TEUs, each daily value of shipment counts, and then what carriers you're using. Individually, you can also click on those days.
Okay.
Like if you're very interested in knowing what's happened over the last...
So it looks like we saw a huge spike right on, I can't tell what day that is.
Right after Labor Day, which again makes sense if you're custom shipments.
That
because
makes
the
sense.
ports...
So a lot of freight was moving through the economy, or moving on the ships and waited until we cleared. Okay.
Exactly.
After the holiday. Got it. So the great thing about this is I can interact with country of origin, I can interact with consignee, and then I can actually go down and look at import location by state. Now this is interesting. We've got Tennessee here as a state of import. There are no ports in Tennessee. What's going on there?
So what's happening here is the freight is being transported in bond. So it doesn't necessarily clear customs until it hits Tennessee in this situation.
Got it. Okay, so it's in bond. It's what this is determined is wherever the clearing location is, wherever customs is actually taking and doing whatever that they need to do to clear the freight. But what's really magical about this is that now, if Amazon is a customer of mine, or if Anheuser-Busch is a customer of mine, I can see a lot of that activity flow over into these ports, and if I'm doing a lot of business with them, I can anticipate that they've seen surges or spikes at certain ports, or potentially that there's a lot more activity or there's a drop-off in demand.
Absolutely, and something that, to that point, something that we've noticed over the last year or so, especially as, global trade war tensions were escalating, a lot of these shippers were trying to source their freight differently. So knowing that, you think, okay, no big deal. It comes in through Los Angeles like everything else. Actually, a lot of the freight started to move out of the southern Asian countries, which actually put a lot of that freight into the eastern ports. So if you dealt a lot with Amazon in the past and they all of a sudden decided, hey, I need to redesign my supply chain to get away from Chinese imports, you can actually look at that changing over the last several days if it happens.
Got it. It's very powerful stuff. You're also seeing TEUs and shipments by carriers. So if you happen to interact, or if you're a dray carrier or happen to have a lot of exposure to freight that's on a particular carrier, you can actually see that right here.
Exactly, especially if you're a drayage provider and you know that Maersk, their containers are more difficult to deal with. You need to make sure that you have enough chassis available in all those port cities, especially if you deal with Amazon a lot, because they do get very customer specific.
Yeah, for sure. This is really powerful. I think about all of the data that is out there that we've created a simple dashboard to use. Now, you talk about global data. There's actually a lot inside of Sonar that is available for users. What else could we find out inside of Sonar that's all specific on global trade?
Yeah, so if we go into our next chart here, the custom shipment, the data that this is built on, we have actually already had a higher level of granularity available on it. So what you're looking at right here is going to be a tree map of the monthly U.S. Customs maritime import shipments. And you can see clearly here, China, the United States, dominating, as a trade partner in terms of maritime imports.
So this is August was the last month, because we've got monthly shipments. Change over a year, we've seen, is this a surge of 33%?
Yes.
Of more volume from China to the United States?
So extremely important information here at a high level. So you can see that China has ramped back up. We're fully back to full production and then some. So that means that you should see this surge of freight coming to the United States, and you're not just seeing some anomaly. So you have validation for your experience. The Los Angeles market has been one of the tightest in the United States over the past several months, and this is one of the major reasons for that.
Now, this is August specifically, but you can actually go up here to change time period and change it to last paint or last value, daily,
Exactly.
Weekly, 2 weekly, monthly, yearly. You can see a lot of activity in terms of deltas and changes and what's happening. So just in the last month, we saw that volumes from July to August jumped about 21%.
Yeah, which is extremely important if you're dealing with a lot of imports coming into the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, which most people don't realize it, but they probably have a lot of influence over them.
Now, this is the tree map function, which actually, the great thing about Sonar is that you can interact with different data sets and actually visualize it through these tools. We built tree maps, which easy to remember, top left to lower right, highest actual value. The actual value is right here.
Yeah, it's a good way to get a nice point of reference, because a lot of people don't understand the relationship between who has the strongest volumes and the lowest volumes in the United States. So this is a good way to say you can see that China clearly dominates a lot of our import volume.
Now, Zach, one of the things that we talked about was customs clearing data, but one of the things that I get asked a lot of is, how do we know what's actually happening before it clears customs?
I'm glad you asked, sir. So we have our bookings data. So this is going to be extremely useful in terms of trying to see what's about to happen. This is stuff that's clearing the United States right now, that has cleared customs. It's sitting in a warehouse. It's sitting at the port, ready to be transported. But if we go to our bookings data, that's going to be a lot easier way to see what's about to happen. Now, this is going to be stuff that shippers have said, here over the next 7 days, I want this to ship. So it's going to be based on estimated time of departure days, which is going to be one of those things that's going to allow you to have that 14 to 21 day window over what's going to happen here in the next few weeks. What you're looking at right here, this is going to be the next 7 days of things leaving China, coming to the United States. So you can see over there on the left-hand side, we're telling you 120.9% increase year over year in a shipment count coming to the United States.
So one of the things that we've gone out and made this assessment. I made predictions that the freight volume was going to be on a sharp V recovery. There's been a lot of people that have attacked that. But one of the things about this particular data set is this is not based on trucking data. It's based on ocean bookings data. And we can see that it's validating that volumes have increased at a massive level. I mean, if you think about this, China to the US, which is obviously a huge trade lane, is up 21% year over year. That is massive. Certainly suggests that a V-shaped recovery is happening and has happened. And now this is based on the last 7 days?
Yeah, last 7 days coming from China to all US ports. Now you can click up here in the US ports. You can change it to US LAX, US LGB. We're still picking on Los Angeles and Long Beach because that has been one of the more active things. So now you can get here over the next several months, or several days, I should say, we're going to see continued expansion of imports.
So real clear, just so that we're not missing what we're seeing here, is the screen that we are rolling out today is based on what's clearing customs.
Correct.
So it's all the volume that is cleared customs. This is a different data set. This is based on bookings. Excellent. So this is actually what happens before. So if you think about a ship taking, anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks in terms of time, you're actually seeing what's being loaded on the ship weeks before it hits the US ports.
So yes, exactly. So from this chart right here, from China to the US Long Beach, if you're handling any kind of importer or shipper that handles a lot of freight coming from China into the United States, and you operate around the Port of Long Beach or Los Angeles in general, because you can have them transferred to warehouses, you can see this line right here. That's the one that's last year. And you can see there's a clear relationship between these two lines, but you can see that the blue line is operating it, far exceeding it. And then, of course, down there on the left, you can see that TUs are actually...
Now, that's specific to Long Beach right there, from China to Long Beach. So if you had, but let's go back to clear out the ports. We have all of US. One thing I want to point out right here is, I think this is really, really important, is we've seen massive amounts of volume hit the freight market, domestic, a lot of discussion about why that's taking place. We just saw a few minutes ago on the screen that we're rolling out that we saw high volumes through historical numbers or what's already cleared customs. This is what's coming. It's not here yet.
Right.
So anyone who thinks that the freight market's going to flatline should understand that they don't know what they're talking about. If we're talking about this is the 15th of September, we're going to see massive volumes over the next couple of days.
Yeah, we are.
Next couple of weeks.
There's no signs of it really slowing down either. So, I mean, you're looking at into all of the United States from China. This is just China, by the way. We have all the countries available, that are bringing in imports. If you just hit that erase button up there in the top corner, you can see here's what's going to happen throughout the entire United States. And over here, you'll see each port represented, the top 10 represented in the United States.
That's amazing. I love this screen. It's a screen that I've had a great relationship with since we rolled it out a few months ago. It's one of the screens when I'm trying to figure out, is the freight market slowing or speeding up? Because imports drive the US freight market. And so I use the screen a lot to sort of get a sense of what's happening. So Zach, everybody wants to know what's happening around pricing. It's always a big question is spot rates, are they up, are they down? We've talked a lot about trucking spot rates, but we've actually got really good container spot rate data.
Yeah, we do. The FreightWaves Baltic Exchange Index that we have available, along with the Drewry World Container Index. So these are two similar but very different indexes. And you see behind me we've got FreightWaves, and I also wanted to combine it with our customs data just so you could see the clear relationship between and the interaction between all of our data sets, because I think that's really the true power of what Sonar can do, is the connectivity between the information helping you to make that leap down the line to make the decision. So we've got FreightWaves Baltic Exchange daily index, again, daily index, coming from China to North America's west coast here in the blue line. And that is the representation of the spot rate for 40-foot containers coming across the United States. You can see all the way back here in late April, those rates were starting to climb. And then they really accelerated in the first part of, or the second half of May. What's interesting to me is that a lot of our trucking capacity didn't really didn't really contract until halfway through June. So there's a lead time here of almost 30 days before the trucking market really started to contract with significance.
There was a lot of disbelievers, people that did not believe that the freight market domestically was heating up. They thought that the freight market was going to have, you know, everything from just a flat line to it's going to go back down, the volumes were going to slow down. A lot of just different theory. We were bullish, but one of the things that I see looking at this particular data set is that imports have suggested bullish activity really from what would be early May.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we could have had early warning signs here. Now, a lot of people were thinking, because there is a supply side situation involved here, as they were pulling ships off the water, thinking, because the maritime industry, they were just like a lot of the experts in the domestic environment. They thought that demand's not going to come back online anytime soon, so they pulled some boats off the water.
Well, there's a lot of blank sailings, which in fairness, the assumption is that would take away the volume. But if you look at what's cleared customs, no suggestion that's the case.
No, customs actually recovered up and then kept growing as it still continues to grow right now. If you look at this green line for Los Angeles customs shipments, and you can see that it continues to put pressure on that capacity on the water.
So if you are thinking about what's happening in the U.S. market specifically, you're pretty bullish if you look at this data.
Exactly, because this also has, like we saw right here, has a huge leading impact into the United States right now.
If I go back to the first screen and we think about what we saw early on, just all of the activity has taken place. I think there's a lot of intelligence built into the system that you can understand everything from what's being loaded onto the boats and headed our way to what's clearing customs, and now you get some assessment of spot prices.
Exactly, and this comes full circle, so you can go back to what we were looking at the very first screen and see exactly who is driving that volume.
That's amazing. So exciting stuff around this. There's a lot more coming inside of Sonar with lots of data sets for global trade, lots of domestic data, but even more exciting around some of the global data that we've been talking about, that the data science team has been crunching. It's very soon going to be in production.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to have in the future, an expansion to a lot of the data sets that we've seen here today. Additional information such as commodities and industry-specific information, and of course, increased timelines and more volume.
Well, Zach, this has been an awesome presentation. Lots of data available. We've done a lot around what's happening for the domestic movement intra-country. We're looking at Sonar becoming more of a global platform for data and freight data, particularly looking at the intersection of the port. And I think about how important ports are. That's where all the modes come together. That's where everything sort of takes place in terms of the interaction of the global market and the domestic market, and knowing what's happening. And as you mentioned, whom is moving it gives you a lot of power that just didn't exist before these data sets came along with inside of Sonar.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the day when I was looking at my information from inside my company, I would have been extremely ecstatic to know what was about to happen here over the next few weeks, so I could have forecasted more efficiently.
Got it. Well, thanks, Zach, for participating in this conversation, an exciting conversation. If you would like to learn more about Sonar, you can click the link embedded in this article or in the video to learn more about it. We're excited. Our customer success team would love to show you, if you have access to Sonar, would love to give you a deep dive into these new data sets and features. And if you would like to get a Sonar demo, you can click the form at the bottom, sign up for a demo, drive it, test it, play with the data, whether you're going to use it in your day-to-day or to get a perspective on what's happening around the global economy, specifically the freight economy. It's a great way to do that.